What's good, YouTube? It's your friendly neighborhood brother, J. Butta, and I'm back at you again with another YouTube video. This time, I'm coming back with part 3 of my experience working in the emergency room. I took a look at the first 2 parts of this series, and I was like, I'm dry as hell. I'm not really showing any personality. I'm kind of monotone when I speak, so this time I'm going to make sure that I'm more upbeat and lively when talking about my experience, because it wasn't all bad. It wasn't all negative, and I feel like my experience can be of some help to anybody else that either wants to work in an emergency room or is starting a job working in an emergency room. So my first piece of advice for all my paramedics and nurses and anybody that's new to the ER is you got to get to know your crash cart. You want to know all the settings to your crash cart. You obviously want to know how to put it in defib mode. You want to know how to pace a patient just in case a patient becomes too Brady, and you want to match their heart rate up with what the machine is, what you input the machine settings to do. So you want to get to know your crash cart. You want to get to know all of the medication that's within your crash cart. So you want to get to know your lidocaine, your amiodarone, your atropine, atropine. I don't ever say it right, but anybody working in medical, you know what I'm talking about. Obviously your epinephrines, your sodium bicarbs, all of that stuff. You want to get to know all of the medications that are within that crash cart. Now, secondly, you want to get to know all of your materials, period, that are in the emergency room. So take some time. If you're 15 minutes early, walk around and just take a look in the stock room. Look at what type of splinting material, look at the type of casting material you guys might have. Take a look at like the different neck braces. Take a look at like the ring cutters that you possibly have, just in case somebody gets a ring stuck on their finger. Take a look at things like if you have like post-op shoes or surgical shoes. You also want to get to know things like your blood pressure cuffs. You want to know when to use the appropriate blood pressure cuffs. A lot of times we'll slap a blood pressure cuff on a patient, and they'll either be a bigger patient and which needs a bigger cuff, or they'll be too small. So you want to make sure that you're using the correct cuff for the correct patient so that we can get accurate blood pressures. You also want to know how to configure your particular blood pressure machine. All blood pressure machines are not created equally. Trust me, I found that out many moons ago. I kind of got my feelings hurt. I was looking around to see where was the SpO2 versus where was the heart rate, and a nurse was asking for vitals, and I gave her the heart rate, which was like 65, which is cool, but I gave her the heart rate as if it was the SpO2 or the oxygen saturation. And if you worked in ER, if you worked in medical, you understand that a 65% oxygen rate is totally different than a 65 beats per minute or 65 on the heart rate for the pulse. And let's say I got embarrassed in front of not only the doctor but also the patient, but it was a learning experience for me. So make sure you know how to read your blood pressure machine. Make sure you understand where pulse ox are, what the difference between pulse ox and your blood pressure is, obviously. Make sure you take temperatures. I've been known to sometimes forget to take temperatures, but temperatures are important because temperatures can be an indicator of infection, if somebody's fighting off like a flu or fever or anything like that. So don't get lazy about those smaller, minor details of working in the ER. The third piece of advice I would give you is understand that when you're working in an emergency room, you do have to have a certain personality type to maintain. Um, Emergency room is fast paced. Like I said, it's even more fast paced now that we are in this pandemic. So sometimes nurses may come across not mean, but they may come across very short, or they may come across almost as if they're trying to test you. For any of my new nurses out there, there's a saying that nurses eat their young, and that's a saying that you need to get familiar with. You need to understand that when you're in the ER, you are relying on all of your coworkers to know, not think, not feel, not believe, but know what they are doing. You need to know what you're doing. So many times the nurses will put extra pressure on the new nurses because they want to see where they are at. And if you have any sort of holes in your knowledge, or you lack certain information, it's very important that they know what you don't know very soon. Just in case a true emergency comes in where it's like a cold blue, we need to know what you're strong at versus what you're weak at. So, if, for example, if you are amazing at doing compressions, but you're weak at doing IVs, we need to know that, so that when a patient comes in and they're crashing, we know who can do what. So, long story short, don't take pressure personally. If you're brand new to the emergency room, do not take that pressure personally. Take it, learn from it. Yes, words will be said. Yes, emergency room is kind of harsh. Yes, but don't take it personally. Take it all in stride and keep working to develop your skill set as a nurse, as a paramedic, as an ER tech, as a whatever your job description is, because lives are depending on you. And I know that might sound a little intimidating to anybody that's new, but I really want to stress the importance of lives are literally dependent upon you knowing what to do at the right time. So keep that in mind. My last piece of advice for you is it's kind of similar to my third piece of advice for you, but it's on more of the positive side. The beauty of working in an emergency room is that you get really, really close to people really, really fast, because you're going through so many different experiences. You're, like I said, you're doing life-saving procedures. You're possibly helping patients deliver babies. You are getting to know each other, because you guys almost have to become like a family there. Like I said before, you have to depend on your coworkers to do their job so that you can do your job more effectively. So the beauty or the positive aspect of working in an emergency room is that you're going to develop some close friendships and relationships with one eternity later. All right, sorry for that weird transition, but I had to switch. I had to come back home. The camera on my phone was actually starting. Wait, did I say that? My phone was starting to overheat, which cut off my camera. So, real quick, um, one of the blessings of working in the emergency room is that you will develop a lot of great relationships with people. Um, I've made some friendships that I feel like I'm going to take on for a long, long time, just based off of the fact that we went through so much. We've seen so many of the same patients. We got inside jokes. We went through a pandemic together, or we still going through it right now. So just those experiences of working with somebody in a hospital, despite the downsides that there obviously are to working in the ER, there are plenty of upside to working in the ER. You're gonna meet some great people. Like I said, if you're new, learn from everybody. Learn from everybody. Do not walk around with this idea that you just know it all, because you don't. You don't. I don't care if you've been working. I don't care if you just passed your nurse's exam and you have this photographic memory and you just remember everything. Do not assume that you know everything. There's always nurses, doctors, RTs, paramedics, ER techs. Hell, you can learn from dietary. You can learn from dietary. You can learn from registration. Like, you can learn from EVS. Don't ever think that because somebody doesn't have the same position that you hold that you can't learn from them. So always remain teachable. Enjoy your time. Learn as much as you can. Help the patients. And that's it, man. Just enjoy your time working in the ER. It's a blessing. Let me give a shout out to everybody that's still working in the hospital, working in the hospital field. Shout out to all the nurses, all the doctors that I met, all my fellow ER techs, all the paramedics, registration, like I said, dietary, RTs, everybody, med tele nurses, all the way on up. Like, shout out to everybody that's doing it, and just keep your head up. So until next time, it's been your friendly neighborhood brother, J. Butta, and I'm out.
I just wanna be the one you love. I just wanna be the one you love.